passenger cars on their sides, a smashed locomotive, and debris from what it hit. On June 27, 2022, Amtrak Southwest chief, traveling 87 miles per hour, derailed after colliding with a dump truck in Minden, Missouri. Tragically, 3 passengers were killed, along with the truck driver. 146 people were taken to hospitals with injuries. This was a serious accident, and the NTSB was called in to investigate. But long before they arrived, first responders were faced with the difficult task of helping the people on board the derailed train. You know, an emergency on the railroad is not something most police, firefighters, or EMS workers encounter on a regular basis, and while they can't predict when something like this will happen, they still have to be prepared. Around 700 miles south of Minden, Missouri, and Meridian, Mississippi, 2 Amtrak coaches are lying in a ravine, and a locomotive has just struck a van. Meanwhile, a badly damaged tanker truck sits near the train. It looks like a disaster zone, but fortunately, this is all staged. And while the emergency isn't real, the training first responders receive here is. These are not mock-ups. The locomotive and passenger coaches once traveled the country on America's rail network. They now reside here at the Meridian Public Safety Training Facility. According to the facility's website, in 1999, it acquired this Amtrak locomotive, the lounge car behind it, 2 sleeper cars, and around 300 yards of track. As you saw in the recent Amtrak derailment in Missouri, passenger cars don't always remain upright when they go off the rails. First responders will have to be prepared to extricate people from side windows or the ends of the cars. The ravine here also simulates the challenging terrain rescuers may face. Now, something like this has happened in Mississippi. Amtrak City of New Orleans derailed on April 6, 2004, near the town of Flora. After an investigation, the NTSB determined this was caused by a rail shift. Furthermore, they said Canadian National had failed to properly inspect and maintain the track the train was traveling on. The investigation also found the FRA's oversight to ensure the track was properly maintained was ineffective. Sadly, 1 person died and dozens of others were injured. Of course, they can't simulate every scenario here in Meridian, but they've got a lot covered. And that includes something that happens far too often in the United States, a grade crossing accident. According to FRA statistics posted on Operation Lifesaver's website, there were more than 2,000 highway rail grade crossing collisions in 2022. Railroads are still alive and well here in the Magnolia State. Meridian hosts Amtrak's Crescent. It stops at the city's rebuilt Union Station. Norfolk Southern and CPKC trains also pass through here. As you can probably tell, freight is what you'll see the most of in Meridian. Now, companies like Norfolk Southern also train first responders for emergencies. This is the railroad's Operation Awareness and Response Train. The consist has special boxcars where first responders can take classes. They can also get on top of and even go inside one of the tank cars, in addition to getting their hands on various fittings and valves. By now, you probably know that some trains haul hazardous materials. Back in Mississippi, what appear to be stand-ins for tank cars sit next to the train. If you're like me, you're probably wondering about the history of the old Amtrak equipment at the training facility. Well, after a little internet research, here's what I found out. Amtrak 305 is an electromotive division F40PH which was built in 1979. And I believe the lounge car behind it is ex-Pennsylvania Railroad. Meanwhile, this sleeper, the Pacific Beach, is ex-Union Pacific. With all the vegetation around the other car, I wasn't able to get any information about it. All of these were built in the late 1940s and early 50s and were part of Amtrak's heritage fleet. Basically, cars that Amtrak acquired from other railroads when it took over passenger services in the U.S. Historic cars like these were eventually replaced by superliners, Amfleets, and Viewliners. While the train accident scene definitely caught my eye, this is not the only part of this facility. There are 99 acres here, and on the property, they have a 3-story burn tower, a staged structural collapse and rubble pile, a kennel for canines, a driving track, and firing ranges. These so-called Katrina cottages provide lodging for visiting first responders. You know, getting hands-on with rail equipment like this would certainly be memorable, but hopefully responding to a real passenger train derailment is something the students here will never have to do. Just a reminder to anyone who might want to stop and see this fake accident that the facility is not open to the public and you shouldn't trespass. Fortunately, it can be seen pretty well from the road. All right, as for rail fanning in Meridian, Mississippi, well, I saw 3 trains in about an hour while I was downtown. Kansas City Southern, now known as CPKC, has a yard here. I'd recommend getting these Southern Belle Jeeps while you still can. You never know, they may be repainted soon. Meridian also has a beautiful Union Station with a railroad museum next door. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.